Namaste and welcome to Tridevi Chamunda Mandir in Denver, Colorado, and Shiva Sai Mandir in Denver, Colorado. And this is Yamajit, and thank you so very much for joining me this evening for day 3 of the 9 nights of Mother Divine, Navaratri, the spring celebration. So I want to start out with a very brief announcement first before we get into the satsang. And that is, as John Lennon always said, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. So late tomorrow afternoon, very early evening, my wife and I are going to be at a car dealership closing a deal on a new minivan. And so just to make sure I get back here to the mandir in time to do the puja, we're moving the time of tomorrow's puja to 7 p.m. And so those who are regulars for my channel, it's the normal time. So Kim, namaste. You can join us at the usual time tomorrow. I also just want to remind everybody that Saturdays and Sundays, pujas and satsangs will be at noon on those days as well. And then I wanted to say a little something about what I consider a modern scripture that I'm reading for this year's Spring Navaratri, and that's Kali the Mother by Sister Nivedita. She was a disciple of both Swami Vivekananda, and Vivekananda's significance is this was in the late 1800s, specifically starting 1893 with the Congress of World Religions during the Chicago World's Fair. And then he also made other trips to Europe after that, and that's where he and Sister Nivedita, there goes my voice, teaching high school math and science all day. That's better. So, and that was on one of his trips to Great Britain is where he met Sister Nivedita. And as I mentioned yesterday, she eventually traveled in and settled in India, and she also became the close disciple of Sardama, the spiritual wife of Sri Ramakrishna. And namaste to Elizabeth, who's joining us. So I wanted to say a little something about the readings that I'll be sharing through this series. Yesterday was the first chapter concerning symbols. And the significance of this chapter is it's really the thoughts of a Westerner who prior to this had absolutely nothing to go by, suddenly being drawn to an Eastern spirituality. And so yesterday's reading did have a lot of Christian symbolism in it, more than I typically would ever do in any of my broadcasts. But still, I think it really reflects the processing that many of us as Westerners drawn to this path may be going through, and recognizing commonalities in the religious and spiritual symbolisms, East and West. Today, I'll be doing the second chapter called A Vision of Shiva. And during that, I would invite you to imagine yourself as Lord Shiva, lying on the ground, on the cremation ground, looking up toward Ma Kali as she places her foot upon your chest. The next day, the third chapter is Two Saints of Kali. That'll be actually the longest of the readings. Fourth chapter, The Voice of the Mother. The fifth chapter, A Visit to Dakshineshwar. This is the very famous temple in Calcutta, India, where Sri Ramakrishna was the priest there, and his wife, Sardama, after his death, continued his order and the administration of his organizations. Amazing place. I visited there several times in 2008 during that summer when I was teaching in that part of India. There's an intercession, which is some poetry to share the next day. Then the next to the last chapter is the story of Kali for a Western baby is the title of that. And then finally, another poem, Kali the Mother. So this is a poem written by the author. And so I'll be doing the puja, some repetitions of the Mahavidya's mantra, and then I'm going to invite you to just relax, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the words from the reading guide you, and also of any corresponding mantras. So I hope you enjoy this particular selection. I like to do different writings and scriptures during Navaratri, and I think this is a very significant one for us as Westerners, because for the longest time, this was the only Kali book that was available. And also, it's the memories and the thoughts of somebody who was really a very early pioneer in terms of Westerners drawn eastward toward the devotion of the Divine Mother. So tonight's Mahavidya, Great Wisdom Goddess, is Lalita, also known as Tripura Sundari, also known as Sudashi. And this form of the Divine Mother is essentially the form of Kali in the guise of a 16-year-old. The name Sudashi means 16. And you'll notice some objects that she is holding. She has a bow and some arrows for meditative concentration, an elephant goad, how the Divine Mother prods us, guides us along our path, a coil of rope for binding ignorance, and also the Divine very often, instead of pushing us in a direction, will draw us, will pull us in a particular direction. She's sitting in Padmasana, the lotus posture, upon a lotus, representative of purity and wisdom, and she is floating above Lord Shiva, who is admiring her. And so let's go ahead, and I'm going to share my reading from chapter 3 of my upcoming book, Kali Meditation, book 5. This is the volume on the Mahavidyas. Sudashi Lalita Tripura Sundari, the adolescent. Tripura Sundari literally means the beauty of the three worlds. Goddess Lalita, the one who indulges in play. Think of adolescent play, the playfulness of adolescence. Also referred to as Sudashi, the 16-year-old, and Raja Jeshvari, the Queen of Queens. She is regarded as the most beautiful deity, the most beautiful goddess of them all. The three worlds exist in the three divine functions: Icha Shakti, the power of will; Jnana Shakti, the power of knowledge; and Kriya Shakti, the power of action. Lalita Tripura Sundari is depicted as a 16-year-old girl, thus embodying the 16 types of desire. She is sometimes described as having a dusky blue complexion and is often depicted in an intimate position with one of Lord Shiva's aspects. She is also shown sitting on a Sri Pitam, a throne or pedestal, which usually seats the major Hindu gods of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva: creation, preservation, and destruction. In other illustrations, she is shown seated upon a lotus blossom suspended above the reclining Lord Shiva, whose face conveys an expression of ecstasy. In some accounts, it is said that her body is made up of the collective Shaktis or energies of Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra or Shiva. Therefore, she is Brahmani, Vaishnavi, and Rudrani, respectively. She is also viewed as the embodiment of numerous other goddesses as well. As a collective embodiment of all aspects of divine Shakti, Sudashi, Tripura Sundari, Lalita is represented by the Sri Yantra, whose angles and triangles and lotus petals exist as a dwelling place of different aspects of Devi. Lalita Tripura Sundari dwells within the bindu, the center dot of the diagram. And I'm going to pan the camera down to an altar that we have at the foot of the Divine Mother's seat. And here we see really three Sri Yantras. So a large central one here. And again, every angle and triangle representing a different aspect of the Divine Mother. And then we have two gemstone Sri Yantras. This first one, carved out of clear quartz, is the Sri Yantra of Shiva Sai Mandir. And being clear quartz, it's interesting also to look at it from the bottom side. Nafia, the late founder of Shiva Sai Mandir, had the most beautiful description for this diagram. She always referred to it as the nervous system of creation. And then the Sri Chakra, or Sri Yantra, next to it is carved out of a large piece of garnet. And this is the Sri Chakra for my temple, Tridevi Chamunda Mandir. And garnet is a stone which is sacred to Ma Kali. And there is a wonderful hymn called the Devi Kadgamala Stotram, which I've done on some previous occasions, which is a recitation of the names. In other words, it's a Namabali of the different goddess figures that dwell within the Sri Yantra diagram. And if you ever have a chance to read that, to chant it, or even to hear it, it's a wonderful opportunity, very powerful. Kadgamala means the rosary of swords, cutting away our attachments, those things that hold us back. Anyway, going further with the reading. Lalita holds 5 flower arrows, a noose, an elephant goad, and a bow made of sugarcane. While the noose represents the binding of ignorance, the goad symbolizes the goddess's ability to guide her children. The divine goddess sometimes pulls us in her direction, other times she prods us along our path. The sugarcane bow represents the mind and meditational focus, and the flowery arrows, the 5 sense objects. She is dressed in a red sari, whose color symbolizes divine Shakti energy. Her hair is loose, indicating that said energy is completely free and unbound. And in our spiritual development, Ma Lalita is the moment when we begin to feel the presence of the divine. However, our sensing is still on the external level. So we are meditating on something external and recognizing that divine presence there. Jai Ma Sudashi.
Jai Ma Sudashi.
Jai Ma Lalita.
Jai Ma Lalita.
Jai Ma Tripura Sundari.
Jai Ma Tripura Sundari.
So I invite you to make yourselves comfortable. Find a position where you can sit comfortably with a straight back. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, look upon your screen with a relaxed gaze. And I invite you to just take a moment, breathe deeply. Take some time for grounding, for centering, preparing for our puja and our meditation. And focusing on your heart center. Taking a moment to quietly connect to whichever form of the Divine Mother that you're closest to. Feeling that presence especially strong within yourself as well as around you. And in tomorrow's Mahavidya Goddess, we'll talk about when one realizes that divine presence within oneself. And again, I invite you to think of some aspect of your life that's ready for healing, for transformation, for resolution, for yourself and maybe those closest to you. And acknowledge that by taking part in these pujas, you're taking a very strong step toward healing, toward resolution, toward balance, toward the knowledge that you need. And then finally, I invite you to bring the palms of your hands together at your heart center. And we're going to chant the 3 seed syllables of Bij mantras from Tripura Sundari. Aing, Klim, and Sauh. Inhale, Aing. Inhale, Klim. Inhale, Sauh. Inhale and exhale. So we open your eyes. If they're closed, you can let your hands rest comfortably on your lap. I could use a volunteer to spritz everybody with rose water. Om Apavitra Pavitrova Sarvavastam Gatopiva Yashmare Pandarikaksham Sabyavyanta Sushi. Om Shuklam Bharadhanam Vishnum Seshivanam Shatujam Prasnavananam Dayat Sarva Vigno Prasantaye Jai Ganesha. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshvara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Sri Guru Namah. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru.
Om Trayambakam Yajamaye Sagandim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukam Bandhanan Machur Mukshiyamamrita. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Devi Prapanote Hare Prasida Prasida Matara Jagata Kilasya Prasida Vishvesvarate Vishvam Tvamishora Devi Chachara Charasya Jema Devi. Om Aing Tripura Devye Vidmaye Klim Kameshvare Dimai Sauh Kline Prachodayat. Jema Tripura Sundari.
Jema Tripura Sundari.
Light the candles on the other altar. And I invite you, as we give our offerings, to join in Tripura Sundari's mantra, Om, Aing, Klim, Sauh. 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 I invite you to close your eyes and breathe deeply. Om, Aing, Klim, Sauh. 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 Jema Sudashi. Jema Lalita. Jema Tripura Sundari. So I invite you, while your eyes are closed, to continue breathing deeply And imagine yourself on cremation ground. The sky is dark. You are lying on your back, and you recognize that you are Lord Shiva himself, lying as a corpse on a battlefield where the Divine Mother Kali has been slaying demons. And visualize Ma Kali approaching you and placing her right foot upon your chest. And imagine your eyes are opening and you are gazing upon her in delight. Kali the Mother, Chapter 2, The Vision of Shiva. Let the words guide your consciousness to where it needs to be this evening. Dark Mother, always gliding near with soft feet, have none chanted for thee a chant for the fullest welcome? Walt Whitman. It may have been that the forefathers saw it in the mountains, or it may have been elsewhere. Somewhere it came to the Hindu mind that the beauty of snow peaks and moonlight and standing water was different from all other loveliness of color and profusion and many channeled scene. It was as though nature, the great mother, were clothed in raiment of green, embroidered with birds and flowers and fruits, and veiled in blue, adorned with many jewels, and yet, as if amidst all the restless pomp and clamor of her glory, would shine through now and then a hint of something different, something white and austere and pure, something compelling, quiet, something silent and passionless and eternally alone. Even the beauty of the world then suggested a twofold essence. Wherever the Hindu looked, he found this duality repeated: light and shadow, attraction and repulsion, microcosm and macrocosm, cause and effect. Nay, he looked into human life itself, and he found humanity as man and woman, soul and body. There was a clue. On the plane of symbolism, the soul of things somehow became associated with a manly form and manifested energy, nature, as we call it, with that of woman and motherhood. In this conception will be noted the deliberate statement that God and nature are necessary to each other as to complementary manifestations of one, just as we find in the male and the female together humanity. That is to say, nature itself is God or goddess, and truly as nature's soul, our God, goddess, nature, and then strife, cries not only a great poet, but the whole heart of our Western religion today. As far back from out of the dim centuries comes the hushed whisper of the Indian sages, look closer, brother. They are not even two, but they are one. Under this aspect, the one existence is known as Purusha and Prakriti, soul and energy. The highest representation of the divine is always human. The shadow of a great rock in a weary land, in a beautiful presentment of some imaginary qualities of God, goddess. But not for one moment does it delude the mind into the belief that here at last it has the thing itself. So with the light and the door of the mountains and the shield, these were not images that could take captive both brain and heart, firing a man to die in their defense. Very different was it with those other pictures, the Good Shepherd, the Eternal Father, the Holy Mother. Here a strange mental confusion is imminent. The mystery behind all form, in at last named in the formula, so convincing, so appealing, so satisfying, that distinction ceases. We forget that even this is not final, and beyond the expression, and apart from it, lies the whole immensity. Hinduism has avoided this danger of fixedness in a very curious way. Of all the peoples of the earth, it might be claimed that Hindus are apparently the most, and at heart the least idolatrous, for the application of their symbols is many-centered, like the fire in opals. This Purush, this Prakriti utters a great principle, the relation of God, goddess, to nature, and one demonstration of it, the soul and the experience of the other, the dynamo and the force that changes. It would be a third. This last illustration serves a moment's attention. Everywhere we see the phenomenon of one waiting to be touched by the other. In order to manifest power and activity, the two are known in India as Shiva and Shakti. As the knight awaits for the sight of his own lady, powerless without the inspiration of her touch, as the disciple waits for the master and finds in him at last the meaning of all life before, so the soul lies inert, passive, unstirred by the eternal, till the great moment comes, and it looks up at the shock of some divine catastrophe, to know that in a flash, that the whole of without, the whole of life and time and nature, the experience, like the within, and also the divine. It is the beatific vision, says the West. It is the realization of the self here and now, declares the East. For such a moment is the Kali image symbol, the soul opening its eyes upon the world and seeing the divine. We have seen the anthropomorphic representation of the divine is absolutely necessary for human nature. But to learn the manner and method of that expression, we must know the whole heart and feeling of a people. To us, ideal personhood includes the king, the master, and the father. He is seen as supreme. He goes forth before his armies as general and sovereign. He counts the many hairs of his children's heads. He avenges their wrongs. He protects from pestilence. He owns the vineyard of the world and himself prunes and cares for the chosen vine, perfect in love, perfect in administration, perfect in power, the ideal householder, ideal judge, ruler. Such is the anthropomorphism of the West. How strangely different it is that in India, there life has one test, one standard, one alone. One, does humanity know the divine or not? That is all. The question of fruits, no question of activity, no question of happiness, only has the soul set out on the quest of realization. Now, literally, this is one passion we may see in popular drama. There, the romantic moment is of no account that Jack should have his Joan, or not have her. It is mere incident, passed over with no superfluous words, at the beginning of things, but we sit for hours absorbed, enthralled to know, when shall these men attain to the divine? Or even then, shall they discover nothing but the divine is worth the living? And in this stage of development, renunciation is accepted as an outward sign. For this moment, when the red rose of the love of the divine springs and blossoms in one's heart, so one cries out, like as the hart panteth for the water brook, so longeth my soul after thee, O God or Goddess, in the moment. As Asia knows well, everything else falls away. All the manifold satisfactions of the flesh become a burden. Home and kindred and intercourse with the world are a bondage. Food and sleep are the necessities of the physical life, seem indifferent and intolerable. And so it comes that the great deity of the Hindu imagination is a beggar, covered with ashes, his sacrificial fire, so that he is white like snow, his hair growing untended in huge masses, oblivious to cold or heat, silent, remote among men, he sits absorbed in eternal meditation. Those human eyes of his are half closed. Through the worlds are uttered and destroyed with every breath. It is nothing to him. All comes and goes before him like a dream. Such is the meaning of the curious unrealism of the image. But one faculty is all activity. Within it has been indrawn all the forces of all senses. Upright in the middle of the forehead looks forth in the third eye, the eye of inner vision. It is natural then that Shiva, the great Deva, set forth his ideal manhood, should be known amongst other names as wondrous-eyed. He is the refuge of animals. About his neck have wound serpents whom none else would receive. Never did he turn any way. The mad and eccentric, the crazed and the queer, and the half-witted amongst men, all of these there is room with Lord Shiva. His love will embrace even the demonic. He accepts that which all else reject. All the pain and evil of the universe he took as his share to save the world, when he drank the poison of all things and made his throat blue forever. He possesses so little, only the old bull on which he rides and the tiger skin of meditation and string or two of praying beads, but no more. And last of all, he is so pleased. Could any trait be so exquisite as this? Only pure water and a few grains of rice and a green leaf or two may be offered to him daily. For the great God, in matters of this world, is very, very simple and sets no store by things for which we struggle and lie and slay our fellow humans. Such is the picture that springs to the Indian mind as representing the soul of the universe, Shiva, the all-merciful, the destroyer of ignorance, the great God. Such is the form in which are uttered finally those first faint suggestions of light of the Himalayan snow peaks, and the new moon shining on still waters, perfect renunciation, perfect withdrawnness, perfect absorption in eternity. These things alone are worthy to be told concerning him, who is the sweetest of the sweet, the most terrible of the terrible, Lord of heroes, and the wondrous-eyed. Listen to the prayer that arises to him daily from a worshipper through the length and breadth of India. From the unreal lead us to the real, from darkness lead us unto light, from death lead us to immortality. Reach us through and through ourself and evermore protect us. O thou terrible from ignorance, by thy sweet, compassionate face. Asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityama amrita gamaya, om shanti, shanti, shanti. Such is Shiva, the embodiment of Godhead. As the Purush, the soul, he is consort and spouse to Maya, nature, the fleeting diversity of scene. It is in this relation that he finds himself beneath the feet of Ma Kali. His recumbent posture signifies inertness, the soul untouched and indifferent to the external. Kali has been executing a wild dance of carnage. On all sides she has left evidence of her reign of terror. The garland of skulls is around her neck. Still in her hand she holds the bloody weapon and a freshly severed head. Suddenly she has stepped unwittingly upon the body of her husband. Her foot is on his breast. He has looked up, awkward by the touch, and they are gazing into one another's eyes. Her right hand is raised in involuntary blessing, and her tongue makes an exaggerated gesture of surprise, once common to Indian women of the villages. And he, what does he see? To him she is all beauty, this woman, nude and terrible and black, who tells the name of the divine on the skulls of the dead, who creates the bloodshed on which demons fatten, who slays rejoicing and repents not, and blesses him only, and lies crushed beneath her foot. Her mass of black hair flows behind her like the wind and like time, the drift and the passage of things. But to the great third eye, each time is one, and the great God, she is blue almost to blackness, like a mighty shadow, and bare like the dread realities of death. But for him there is no shadow. Deep into the heart of that most terrible and awe-inspiring, she looks unshrinking, and in the ecstasy of recognition, he calls her Ma, mother. So shall be the union of the soul with the divine. Do we understand what the background is from which a thought as this could spring? For the Kali image is not so much a picture of a deity as the utterance of a secret of our own lives. The soul in realization beholds the mother now. The picture of green lawns and smiling skies and flowers steeped in sunshine cannot deceive the all-knower. Under the apparent loveliness, he sees life, preying upon life, the rivers breaking down the mountains, the comet poised in mid-space to strike. Around him rises up the wail of all the creatures, the moan of pain, the sob of greed, the pitiful cry of little things in fear. Irresponsible, without mercy, seems the spirit of time, death to the woes of humanity, and answering them only with a peal of laughter. Such is the world of the Hindu mind, and the predisposed to see it. Verily, says the heart warily, death is greater than life, yea, and better. Not so the supreme soul in its hour of vision. No coward sign of exhaustion, no selfish prayer of mercy, no idle resignation here. Bend low, and you shall hear the answer that India makes to eternal motherhood. Through all her ages of torture and despair, listen well to the voice is low that speaks, and the crash to ruin mighty. Though thou slay me, yet I will trust in thee. After all, has any one of us found the divine in any other form than this? The visions of Shiva. Have not the great intrusions of our life all come to us in moments when the cup was bittersweet? Has it not always been with sobs of desolation that we have seen the absolute triumph of love? Behold, we also, O Mother, are thy children. Thou, though thou slay us, yet we trust in thee. The hour is gone, the vision has passed. The vision of the great symbol, perhaps, the man has ever imagined for himself. The hour has passed, and we are back amongst the mountains in the early ages. There is a gathering of the tribes for a Vedic sacrifice. Yonder the bull, majestic, paces towards us, laden with wood for the sacrificial fire. Now it is lighted from the central mass, rises a blue-throated flame, while round the edge, leaving the fuel black and charred, curl those greedy red tongues of fire, to each of which the wise ones give it separate names: the black, the terrible, and so on. The priests chant texts, and the people wait upon worship. And we see the faces in the fire of time to be, when the eyes of the poet shall rest upon the sacrifice and shall fashion therefrom this mighty vision of the divine in nature, the soul, and the life. For scholars say that Shiva is but the fire of Vedic rites personified. He is the wood borne upon the bull and the flame, which is white, with a patch of blue color at the throat. As for Kali, she is claimed as one of the powers, one of the red licking flames, which char and blacken the wood that is not consumed, in token for which we see this day her protruding tongue. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.
Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. I invite you now to take a deep and clearing breath. letting go of the meditation. Hearing the sound of my voice and any other voices in your personal space. Feeling the floor below you, clothes upon your skin, the temperature of the air. Slowly moving your fingers and toes, hands and feet, arms and legs, and bringing the palms of your hands together again at your heart center. Om Sava Mangala Mangalye Shiva Svada Sadike Saranye Triambake Devi Naryane Namostute. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamashoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Om.
Om Tat Sat Om.
Jai Ganesha.
Jai Ganesha.
Jai Guru.
Jai Guru.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Jai Ma Devi.
Jai Ma Devi.
Jai Ma Kali.
Jai Ma Kali.
Jai Ma Tripura Sundari.
Jai Ma Tripura Sundari.
Jai Ma Lalita.
Jai Ma Lalita.
Jai Ma Sodashi.
Jai Ma Sadashi.
Jai Mata Di.
Jai
Jai Mata Di.
Jai Mata Di.
Jai Mata Di. Jai Ma. I invite you to open your eyes. Namaste. Blessings always. Thank you so very much for joining me this evening, both the 4 of you who are joining online and the 5 of you joining in person. And Jai Ma. So, something important in the reading was the concept of Purusha and Prakriti. And another way those words could be defined is Purusha, the forces, the laws that govern nature. Being a hard science major myself, the laws of chemistry and physics, for example, and mathematics. And Prakriti is very often looked upon as energy and matter under the governance of those laws. And in many facets of Indian spirituality, Purusha is seen as masculine or dynamic, and Prakriti as receptive or feminine. In Tantric Shakta Hinduism, the Hinduism of the Divine Mother, where the Divine Mother is present within oneself, those roles are reversed. So the laws governing the cosmos are Ma herself, and Shiva is matter and energy under that influence. And that's what we see in the image of Ma Kali standing upon Lord Shiva. We are, in essence, corpses, dead, until we open ourselves, surrender ourselves to that divine force and acknowledge its presence within. Jai Ma. So I want to thank you again for joining me. You can always replay this broadcast if you'd like to do the puja and meditation again. Adjust this camera a little bit. There we go. That's a little bit better. I want to remind everybody that tomorrow night's puja will be at 7 p.m. and that Saturdays and Sundays will be at noon. All of these Denver time. So once again, blessed Navaratri on this third night. Thank you so very much for joining me this evening. I look forward to you joining me next time. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, and good night.